the Office of President of the NBA, will speak to us for 7 minutes each. Gentlemen, 7 minutes each. You speak to us about your plans and your manifesto, after which we'll take as many questions as we can. This is a very critical stage of the debate. In no particular order, but I'd like to start with you, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Afam Osigwe. 7 minutes.
Good afternoon, distinguished colleagues. My vision in seeking to lead the NBA is to lead a unified and inclusive bar that identifies problems, anticipates challenges, and delivers solutions that work for all. My mission is to improve the standing of the NBA, strengthen and unify the bar, while delivering solutions that work for NBA. In trying to address these issues, I've grouped them under 3 thematic areas in my manifesto. 1, enhancing the welfare and professional standing of all lawyers. 2, reinvigorating public confidence in the NBA. And 3, strengthening institutional structures and increasing efficiency in the legal profession. In serving as the Publicity Secretary of NBA Abuja branch, I identified with the grassroots and tried to articulate challenges facing the NBA. And from there, I went on to lead a bar, and they gathered experience to show how working with lawyers who operate from branches and within certain jurisdictions, and how solving their problems will improve their confidence in the NBA. Because in running from NBA chairmanship in 2010, I was principally motivated by the constant questions lawyers asked, what does NBA do for me? And I delivered excellently, if I may say that with every sense of modesty, on my manifesto, such that in 2014, when I sought to be the General Secretary, I was resoundingly elected. The building we stand in today is evidence of what we could do, or what we can do, if we prudently manage our resources. This building, we met it at the ground floor in 2014. And by August of 2016, we had commissioned it and moved into it. When I talk about caring about the welfare of lawyers, I do not by any means suggest that the NBA will give money to us or give us briefs. But say that the NBA must protect where we practice, where we eat, how we practice with dignity. And that was motivated the introduction of the current personalized stamp and seal, which we introduced in 2015. That was to fight quacks and protect the legal business. And you can't, because we realize that you cannot talk about the welfare of members without ensuring that people who belong to an association get a membership. We introduced the automatic insurance cover that you get immediately you pay your practice fee. And that was in 2015. And we continued that for 2 years. And we also sought to do other things to ensure that members get benefits, like negotiating with hotels, airlines, to ensure that there is something people enjoy by virtue of being members of the association. And we must strengthen our institutions. And that was why the Constitution was amended. We sponsored the amendment of the Constitution in 2015 to give a vote to every lawyer. As chairman of NBA, I realized that the society expects much from NBA. They expect NBA to speak and have a stand on issues that affect the society, the administration of justice, and so many issues that affect all of us. And so you find me routinely speaking, and if I dare say, I am the only candidate who has that record, speaking on TVC, Channels TV, AIT, NTA, Rice TV, speaking out what requires to be done to make for a better practice of law and legal profession. The standing of the NBA will never be recognized and appreciated by the society if we do not speak out at critical moments in our lives. If NBA does not speak, the society will not have much regard for NBA. I have a track record of speaking. I have a track record of doing so many things. And if I'm voted in as president, we must ensure that the benefits of members are uppermost, that will protect our legal business, and that will use the instrument of litigation and administrative procedure to ensure that anybody who harasses or assaults a lawyer does not get away with it. The principle being that the action must have consequences. We must strengthen our branches. We must strengthen our branches by ensuring that the Human Rights Committee work. We cannot have a situation where everything is done from Abuja. Branches must stand and be an integral part of NBA, and they must function. We must ensure that security agencies respect NBA. NBA is a brand. We must use that to our benefit and for the protection of our business and for the protection of legal practitioners. We may train lawyers all we can, but if we do not protect them to earn a living in dignity and enhance the standing of the association and unify the bar, such as the dissonant voices we have about having Law Society of Nigeria or some other name, will be able to bring everybody and address issues that affect all of us. NBA has been so good to us. It has been to me. NBA has shown me that the legal profession can make the son of a trader like me rise up to be a senior advocate today, be a light bencher, and be running to be your president. The profession gives opportunity to all of us. You do not need to be the son of a big person to be somebody. But that profession will fail in its ability to do this if it does not institutionalize the way of doing things, if it does not protect us, if it does not contribute to building a better society, enthroning the rule of law, promoting the ideals for which we stand for. NBA means a lot to all of us. It has made us who we are. It has given us respect and dignity in the society. The society which has done so much for us expects so much from us. And that is where the NBA continually needs a leadership that will be best able to do this. My opponents are good, but I am better than both of them. I offer myself as the best person at this time. Indeed, please, my time is running out. If I didn't think I was better than them, I will not be running. Vote for me. You know what you are getting. You get consistency, you get result-oriented leadership, and you get a bar to be proud of. Vote for proactive bar, vote for more civil. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Please, let's settle down so we can hear the other candidates. Please, let's settle down so we can hear our candidates. If I do not get you, if you do not keep quiet, we cannot have a debate. Please, let's settle down. Leonard Silk Chukwukayikwazom, please go next. 7 minutes.
Good evening. Good evening, my distinguished colleagues. My name is Chukwukayikwazom. I'm a partner in the law firm of Aluko and Oyebode. I graduated from the University of Nigerian campus. I proceeded to the law school and was called to the bar. And moderator, please, I would like to start when the hall is quiet. Please.
So you can hear our candidates, please. Let's have a debate. Please, let's keep quiet so we can hear them. We also have colleagues who are listening online. And if you keep shouting, then they can't hear. So please, let's make this as controversy-free as much as possible. Please. Please.
If there's an interruption, please pause the time, because it will be unfair to count the time on.
Okay. Technical team, if there's an interruption, please pause the time. So that then, yes. Please. Thank you. I mean, these are your candidates, and they are the ones asking that you keep quiet so they can talk. So please, let's all cooperate and make this as
Thank you very much.
possible.
My name is Chukwukayikwazom. I'm a partner in the law firm of Aluko and Oyebode. I graduated from the University of Nigeria campus, was called to the Nigerian bar. In 2008, I proceeded to Columbia Law School in the city of New York, where I obtained a master's degree in law. I stayed back a few months after graduating to write the New York bar exam, which I passed. So in addition to my admission to the Nigerian bar, I'm also a qualified attorney in the state of New York. In 2017, I was elected in 2017. I was elected the chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association, Lagos branch. I pioneered transformative leadership and did a lot of activities that redefined leadership at the branch. Whenever I talk about my time as chairman of the NBA Lagos branch, I say to my colleagues who are listening to me, you don't have to take my word for it. Pick up your phone, call anybody who witnessed the work that my administration did, and they will tell you that the general consensus in my branch is that I led the largest branch of the NBA with distinction. Currently, I chair the Nigerian Bar Association Security Agencies Relations Committee. In that role, I have intervened through the committee in cases of conflicts between lawyers and security agencies. We have spoken out against authorities. We have not shied away from holding authorities to account. I am running for president, and I present to you a vision of transformative leadership and a fearless bar. A bar that will not be afraid to speak truth to power. A bar that will not shy away from the primary responsibility of the NBA to promote the rule of law. A bar that will not stand dumb in the face of oppression and violation of the rule of law. A bar that will speak truth to power at all times. That is the vision that I present to you. When you look at my manifesto, you will see that I have identified a lot of issues that I consider to be problems we have with the profession. But I acknowledge that 2 years is not an awful lot of time. If you want to be impactful as the president, you have to be clear about what you want to do, and you have to hit the ground running. So I'm going to be focusing on 3 priority areas. The first of which is justice sector reform. All of us who are in this room will agree that we have a justice sector that is totally dysfunctional. How do I propose to go about this? As president of the NBA, I am going to institute a nationwide court monitoring system that will monitor the courts through the branches of the NBA and issue reports on a weekly basis. The report does not have to be accompanied by a commentary. We're not going to be saying Justice X is a bad judge. We're just going to be saying that a particular judge sat only once in a week, and that on that day the judge sat for 2 days. We believe that this is a form of naming and shaming that will put pressure on the judges who are not performing. The other thing that we're going to do, if by the grace of God I'm elected president, is that we're going to make a clear distinction between the administration of justice and the administration of the courts. I do not believe that judges should be saddled with the responsibility of administrative matters as far as the court is concerned. That should be left in the hands of people who are trained and who are skilled. When we do that, the judges are going to have a lot of time to focus on justice delivery. Many of us will agree that there is a huge infrastructure deficit in our court system. The MB under my leadership will lead advocacy for massive investment in the court system. We're going to lead an advocacy for the infusion of technology in the justice delivery system. When I was chairman of the NBA Lagos branch, I set up a committee. When I was the chairman of the NBA Lagos branch, I set up a committee that was chaired by Mrs. Funka Adekoya. One of the things that that committee did was to work to produce, in collaboration with another NGO, an administration of civil justice bill. Now, there are great innovations in that bill, which I believe that if implemented will go a long way in addressing the concerns that we have in the judiciary. The second priority area that I'm going to focus on is welfare of the legal professional. I am going to lead a big effort to enforce Rule 3 of the Rules of Professional Conduct, which seems to protect the legal profession from intrusion by non-lawyers. We're going to make sure that law will be practiced by lawyers and that people outside of the legal profession will not come to steal our lunch. I will make sure that the Remuneration Order 2023 is enforced. I will make sure that the NBA fights for lawyers in employment, both private employment and public employment. Today, you have a situation where medical doctors are started on a different scale when they join public institutions, but lawyers are started on at a level that is far less. We're going to fight to get a special salary package for lawyers in private employment. For lawyers in private employment, I'm a partner in a law firm that has one of the best compensation packages in the profession. I am going to push the Alukanebode model and encourage other employers of lawyers to pay wages that make sense. Wages that make sense. Unlike what happens at the moment, where a lot of our people are paying wages that do not make sense. As a matter of fact, one of the things that the NBA will do is to take another look at the remuneration policy of the NBA. Because when you look at the recommended minimum salaries for lawyers, you see that those salaries that were recommended, they have not taken into account the impact of inflation. So we're going to take another look at those minimum salaries and make sure that they are brought in line with current realities, current economic realities of our time. One of the other things that we're going to do is that we're going to fight for, like I said, the infusion of technology in our court system. It doesn't make sense that in the 21st century, our judges are still recording proceedings in longhand. We're going to make sure that heads of court are encouraged to license real-time transcribers who will transcribe proceedings. Because what you find is that this handwriting of proceedings is one of the major enablers of corruption. Oftentimes, when you get on appeal and you look at proceedings, and you're wondering whether these were the same proceedings that you participated in. So these are some of the things that we're going to do to reposition the NBA, to make the bar a fearless bar that will stand up for all lawyers.
Time up. Time up. Please, let's settle down. Please, let's settle down. Thank you. Learned Senior Tobe Nairojikwe, please speak to us for 7 minutes. Please, can we be quiet?
Thank you very much, Shola, for the kindness. First of all, I would say that 7 minutes is a very short time for anybody to deliver what's in the 42-page manifesto. And as colleagues and brothers and sisters, I would ask you to just keep quiet and listen to me. If you do not hear what I have to say, you cannot hold me accountable. My name is Tobe Nairojikwe. I was born 50 years ago, last March, and I am a member of the NBA Lagos branch. I have practiced law in Nigeria and in the United Kingdom. I practiced law in the United Kingdom for 10 years. I qualified in the year 2000, and I also have a master's degree in corporate finance law from the University of Westminster. In my time in the Nigerian Bar Association, I've had the privilege of being a co-opted member of my branch for 4 years and being the chairman of the Continuing Legal Education Committee of my branch for 4 years. I also served as a member of the advisory board of the branch. In that time, I chaired all the committees of the ESCO over the 4 years that I was a member of the ESCO. I brought in a lot of innovations based on what I had learned in the public sector and in the private sector, working both in England and in Nigeria. And that is why I am a big believer in certain philosophies. All that I have done in the MBA is underpinned by two major philosophies. One is investor in people. It is the belief that every organization, every association must invest in its members. It's also the belief that we must encourage social mobility by creating equal platforms and equal opportunities for everybody. And what have I done to show that these things are possible? As the chairman of the CLE committee in Lagos branch, I was able to facilitate over 70 free training sessions for our members, and free because of the investor in people ideology. I was able to pair over 200 members on mentorship schemes. The highlight of my time was when the Lagos branch spent about 5 million naira to pay for certification courses for our members to become associates of chartered institute of arbitration. What do I call that? That is an association investing in its people. As chairman of the Institute of Continuing Legal Education, I'm not talking about what you need to ask people to verify. You can verify yourselves, because people in this room have had direct and present benefit. Today we've used technology to take training and development on all areas of law, from facilitators from across the world to our members everywhere. This is adding value. We today have a repository where you have all the learning materials and video materials there. These are the things that we've done. The highlight of my time as chairman of the board of Institute of Continuing Legal Education happened a week ago in Bayelsa, where we unlocked Nigerian money for Nigerian citizens. Over 700 lawyers were trained at no expense to themselves or the MBA, unlocking a fund that has been there and nobody has talked about. Now, what am I going to do as president of the MBA? There are many things. I was chief advisor to Olu Abata, and I was in charge of policy formulation and project implementation. In that time, members of the bar saw what was possible. And what I learned working with Olu was that we have too many resolutions that are not being implemented. And I tell you, those resolutions will be implemented for day one. The court monitoring scheme that's been referred to here was my idea. We invested over 18 million naira on that court monitoring scheme. It's moribund. We'll pick it up and push it. There's an access to finance scheme about investing in people. We saved 1.5 billion naira. And I personally negotiated 9% interest rate across 2 banks for the benefit of our members. We will implement it from day one. This building is half empty, if not more. We're going to convert it. Nigerian lawyers who don't have office spaces, we'll give you an opportunity under a ballot system. We will also set up an incubator system for the training and development of lawyers for immediate benefit to themselves. There are so many other things. We have resolutions on secretarial reform. Go and read it. Chidi Odinkalu's report, the KPMG report. What are we doing with it? Our secretariat is not functional. We don't have one single donor agency relationship. But at the MBA ICLE, we have 13 strategic partnerships. We can do it if we have the will and if we have the mind. Some say they are better than others. I'm not better than anybody. I'm one of you, but I believe in impact, and my heart is with you. So we keep moving. In the space of the RPC itself, talks about continuing professional. Shola, do I have your protection? Can they stop for a minute?
Please go ahead, Leonard Senior.
Thank you very much, Shola. To think about where we are as a profession today, the rules of professional conduct requires that you have to have a mandatory number of hours in order to practice law in Nigeria. And because of who we are, we don't even obey it. There's no license to practice or anything like that. I tell you, whether there's a controversy on it or not, because it's beneficial to our people, we will implement it from day one. I've thought about it. You look at my manifesto, it's a 42-page document that talks about resolutions that the MB has passed. And those resolutions are the resolutions that I will implement from day one, because I don't need to go back to NEC to get any authorization. But fundamentally, and this is the big card, who are we as lawyers? I think we've lost our way. The voice of the Nigerian lawyer must be heard once again. Anybody who seeks to lead you must have character. I come to you as a man that will do what he says. A man that believes in justice, equity, and fairness. I don't pussyfoot about it. Even during this electoral process, what I have shown and exhibited all the time is character. And I'll continue to exhibit it. If you don't have character, if you don't believe in the principles that uplift people, you will go nowhere and you will lead nobody. I do not want to be president of MBA. No, God forbid. I want to be your leader. And who is a leader? A leader is a man that when he's walking out of the door and he says to the people who are in the room, come, let us go and protest. Let us go and do this. Let us fight for our rights. They will say, yes, we want to come. But when they do not come, he comes back and says, is there something I'm getting wrong? Leadership is a joint venture enterprise. No leader, as good as he wants to be, better than everyone in the world, can lead without the people. I want to conscientize our members to join me in rescuing this profession. What do you hear? Think about it. I heard the other day that Bosan, Nigeria was quarreling with Bosan, Abuja, that the body of benchers were having all sorts of issues. Are those the things that concern
Time up. Time up. Thank you very much. So we've heard from all our presidential candidates, and now we're going to put across the questions that you have sent in, and they will have 3 minutes each to answer these questions. We're going to try to take as many questions as possible, and these questions were sent in by members of the bar. The first question is this: how can the NBA, under your leadership, ensure that Nigeria's bilateral agreements are reflective of Nigeria's strategic national interest and sovereignty? As NBA president, what synergy will you create with the Office of the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation to enhance an agreement with the to enhance an engagement with the federal government of Nigeria and its institutions in negotiating these agreements on behalf of our country. Do we understand the question? Should I read it again? How can the NBA, and these are questions from lawyers, how can the NBA, under your leadership, ensure that Nigeria's bilateral agreements are reflective of Nigeria's strategic national interest and sovereignty? As NBA president, what synergy will you create with the Office of the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation to enhance an engagement with the federal government and its institutions in negotiating these agreements on behalf of our country? So you have 3 minutes to answer, and I'll start with you, Mr. Tobena.
Thank you very much. I think that the first thing is to say that that interplay is determinant on third parties. So we will offer our advice, our opinion to the government. It is for them to accept it. But the first thing that we must do as a group of people is to identify that every law and every treaty that we enter into is a matter of our enlightened self-interest in terms of participation. So we must have a committee of the NBA that is fully focused on all legislative issues, that is fully focused on all forms of treaties and all forms of arrangements that the government of Nigeria seeks to enter into, so that we even have a position as the NBA that is that the government knows that this is the position of the NBA and is willing to either look at it or not look at it. But not to look at it or not to say that this is a position on everything, including, when we're dealing with the African Free Trade Agreement, we never knew what the position of the NBA was. So we have to take that view and have a committee on legislations and on foreign treaties that will look at everything and then take a concrete position and then seek to engage the government on our viewpoint on the issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mazi Afamosigwe, SAN.
The thinking that went into using the slogan, a proactive for my campaign, for my manifesto, is to show that the bar should not be reactionary. The bar should not always criticize, but the bar should be engaged in the process. So in the lawmaking process, the NBA must once again bring back the Legislative Advocacy Committee, which will track the progress of bills in the National Assembly. The bar should be up to date in activities going on and make an input. The bar should not be in the dark about goings on in society. The bar must constructively engage with stakeholders. And the Attorney General of the Federation, while he may be a political appointee, is a member of the bar and is the official leader of the bar. And the bar must collaborate with his office to know what engagement the government seeks to and have an understanding that allows the Attorney General to let the bar have such agreements being sought to be entered into so that the input of the bar must be got. We cannot continue to run a bar association where we find it fanciful to go to social media to criticize so as to be seen as activists. We must not only be driven by ideas, but driven by the will, the desire to solve problems. And to that extent, I want to lead a bar that is proactive, identify the existing problems, find solutions to them, anticipate the ones that are going to come, point them out, so that we'll find a solution that works for everybody in the society, because society is looking up to us, and we cannot afford to be clapped for by the public while no solution has been found, while problems keep piling up. We must work with everybody. We are equal stakeholders. We have a stake in seeing that Nigeria works. We are not an opposition party, so we have a role to contribute to nation building. We have a role to ensure that Nigeria we have a role to contribute, ensuring that the different agreements we enter into do not sell away our commonwealth or our sovereignty, but are ones that will inure to the betterment of Nigerians. It is good for NBA to criticize where necessary, but we, as a watchdog, we are not an opposition political party, but we have a duty to ensure that the society works orderly, and laws and agreements, laws passed and agreement entered into by the country work with the mind of ensuring that the welfare and the security of the people are the primary aim of government. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Please, can we have some quiet? Chukwuka Ekwazam, SAN, please go next.
Thank you very much. So, the bar under my leadership will be a fearless bar, but it will also be a bar that will pursue collaboration with the relevant stakeholders in our country and in the legal profession. As a matter of fact, when you look at my manifesto, you'll see that on the very first page, I did make the point that the legal profession is plagued by profound polarization, and that if we do not address all the divisions that we have, we're not going to be able to solve the issues that affect us. So, as president of the NBA, I will pursue collaboration not just with the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation, but with all stakeholders within the legal profession. And the NBA under my leadership will be proactive. Once upon a time, we sat back and we woke up one morning and we saw that some amendment had been done to the Constitution that made the National Industrial Court the final court of appeal, and we all started running around. I believe that the NBA should be proactive in monitoring legislation and treaties and agreements that the country is entering into, providing valuable advice. After all, by reason of our learning as lawyers, we're better placed than most other people to be able to protect the interest of society. So the MB under my leadership will take care to establish a desk that not only at the National Assembly to monitor legislation that is being enacted, but to also follow agreements, bilateral agreements and other agreements that the country is entering into with a view to providing advice to ensure that the contents of these agreements protect the interest of Nigerians. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please, can we have some quiet in the room? Leonard Silk, Chukwuka Ekwazam, I am going to start with you on this question. Please, can we have some quiet in the room? Thank you. What decisive stance will you take to strengthen the independence of the judiciary and ensure its integrity? And how will you address cases of judicial impropriety where there's a breach of judicial code of conduct?
Thank you very much for that question. Every lawyer in Nigeria should be very concerned about what is happening in the judiciary. Not too long ago, we woke up to news that a federal high court judge assumed jurisdiction over a chieftaincy dispute. Such things, when they happen, they paint the judiciary in very bad light. So one of the things that the MB under my leadership will do to ensure the integrity of the judiciary is that we're going to hold judges accountable. When I was making my initial presentation, I did say that the Nigerian Bar Association under my leadership will institute a nationwide court monitoring system to observe what is happening in our courts. Beyond that nationwide court monitoring, we're going to follow developments in the judiciary. And whenever we see that a judge has done something that could amount to judicial misconduct, the NB under my leadership will not have any hesitation whatsoever to take up that matter, do a petition to the NJC and follow that petition to the logical conclusion to see that appropriate punishment is meted to the erring judicial officer. Because the reality is that whether we like it or not, what happens in the justice sector impacts not just the legal profession but the entire country. And that is why, as members of the bar, we must stand up at all times to hold our judges accountable. We must hold them accountable and ensure that every judge abides by the oath of office that he or she has taken. So the MB under my leadership will follow very closely events within the judiciary, and when any act or conduct that could qualify as misconduct is noted, the MBA will take it up and make sure that appropriate punishment is meted. Thank you.
Then Silk, please go next.
In a society where several NJC decisions leaves one bewildered, I think it will be preposterous to suggest that writing petitions to NJC will work the magic. Recently, NJC made a release and said that a certain judge gave an order he shouldn't get, that judge should not be promoted to Court of Appeal for the next 2 years. And I asked myself, if that judge is not fit for the Court of Appeal, of what good is he to the court where he sits? And so we must have short-term, medium-term, and long-term solutions. The system as it is at the president does not work. This is a situation that does not allow the 5 NBA representatives on the NJC to be part of disciplinary action. A system that seems to protect more than it disciplines is unworkable. So I will propose constitutional amendment to overhaul the composition of the NJC, the appointing powers of the CJN, the chairmanship of the continued chairmanship of the CJN, of both the FJSC and NJC, and the continuing allowal of NBA representatives to be part of the disciplinary process. But above all, we must appoint the right persons to the bench. We must try to find solutions that ensure that we reduce judicial corruption to the minimum. And we must do things that does not expect our judicial officers to politicians. Yesterday, many judges and justices were sworn in. And it occurred to me that the continuing system where every judge, every justice that is sworn in struggles to have a massive social entertainment cannot but expose our judicial officers to corruption. It makes them to mingle so much with politicians. And I think that we must have a system where if judges are sworn in, it will be in a solemn private ceremony in the CJN's chambers. And if there is going to be any entertainment, it should be a private luncheon for them by the NJC. But we must take steps to cure the malady in the judiciary. We must ensure that the disciplinary powers of the NJC are transformed to an independent body that is able to exercise their powers independently and ensure that people have confidence in the ability to discipline people. Because you see same facts, same circumstances, different results. As NBA president, I must push for reforms. I must make sure that we follow up cases where judges have been found to be corrupt or where judgments or decisions by a judge give indication that is either the judge is corrupt or was corruptly induced or the judge is incompetent. Thank you so very much. We must all work to ensure that the judiciary works and they will not do corruption.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Please, can we keep quiet so that we can continue? Mr. Erejikwe, please go ahead.
You know, I like to think of the disease. I like to think of the disease and not the symptoms. So it is easy for lawyers in a session like this to pontificate about what you will do to members of an arm of government. It's very easy. But the reality on the ground is, what can you do? Now, when I talk about the disease, I think that the disease is not in the judiciary. The disease is actually reposed in the legal profession, in the bar itself, right? Every judge that becomes a judge is first a lawyer. Our disciplinary processes are very poor. Why is it that after 10 years, somebody is appointed a judge elsewhere in the world? We don't hear the kind of things we hear here. So the people who are going to be judges are the people in this room. And what is it that the MBA must do? We must ensure that ethical standards are taken up. Now, when it comes to relationship with judges, what is our relationship with judges? I was, up until a few weeks ago, a member of the NJC. So I've had a direct conversation about this corruption thing. And what the judges always say is, you lawyers talk about corruption in the judiciary, for instance. Who are the corrupting influences of the judges? That's the kind of conversations that we have. Now, on the immediate term, I had talked about a court monitoring scheme that we had put in place. And we had spent 18 million naira putting it in place, creating the app. That court monitoring scheme is not something that's just signed up to by the MBA. It's actually something that a number of stakeholders signed up to. And there are a number of distinguished colleagues here who were in the room when that thing was signed in. What it means is that the NJC, the Supreme Court, the Nigerian judiciary has actually endorsed that court monitoring scheme. And I think that the first thing any president of the NBA will do or should do is to make sure that that scheme is enforced. And make sure that as we're enforcing it, we're telling them, you signed this communique at the end of it. You've mandated us to do it. If you don't have statistics, if you don't have data, if you don't say this person did, that person did, we cannot solve the problems of the judiciary in Nigeria. So we need to look at it from the perspective of who exactly is at fault and what is the extent, of the fault line. What is the contribution of the Nigerian bench to this problem? What is the contribution of the Nigerian bar to this problem? At the end of the day, bench or bar, the legal profession in Nigeria is one, and we must fight to the extent possible of the bar to deal with it. As president of the bar, I will sit in the appointments committee of the NJC. I will sit as a member of the NJC, and I will make sure that justice, equity, and fairness is enthroned.
Thank you. I'm going to start with you, Leonard Silk, Mazi, Afamusigwe. How will the NBA, under your leadership, ensure that security agencies and agents observe mutual respect between them and lawyers in the performance of their duty? We've heard cases of brutalization of lawyers, barring of phones of lawyers coming inside their institutions who come to represent their clients. So if you do become president of the bar, how will you deal with some of these issues?
Thank you. One of the problems we have is that when lawyers go to conduct their business in, say, EFCC police, they are sometimes asked to leave their phone out. And sometimes they have to stay for long hours. I think the starting point will be for NBA to have a stakeholders meeting with these law enforcement agencies. We may need to find out, have common grounds with them, and have rules of engagement developed between the NBA and some of these agencies. Now, where people are to be kept for long hours in a place, and they are not allowed access to their phone, that creates problems. But also where in an investigating environment, where lawyers may bring in their phone in the course of investigation and keep talking on their phone, it may also disrupt investigation. So I talk about 10 rules of engagement, do's and don'ts, or how lawyers who are present in these areas will have to behave. But the bottom line is that there has to be courtesy and civility both between the law enforcement agencies and the lawyers who do business in these places. We may not be able to dictate at all times what happens, but we have to insist, and insist we must, that lawyers who do business in these places are treated with dignity and are able to conduct their businesses in such a way that their businesses do not suffer while they are there. It may well be that an agreement may be reached that lawyers may use their phone in some demarcated area, away from where the questioning is taking place, away where investigation is being conducted. But we need to do an assessment of the security implications of some of the actions and how they impact negatively on the ability of lawyers to have access to their phones, to have access to material they may need, and also how to ensure that the use of these phones and the presence of the lawyers does not impede the investigation. So it is not something that somebody will tell you, I'll go there, I lead a demonstration, we'll force them to take it. That will not solve a problem. We have to constructively engage with them and find common ground on how lawyers will be able to use their phones in some of these environments without disrupting the investigation that goes on. Anything short of this may give you a one-sided solution that may in practice not work. Because we must engage with the agencies, find out their different sensibilities, find out the different things, reason why they do this, and find a way that it works for both persons and allows the lawyers to do the things they need to do without, and also allowing the law enforcement agencies to carry out their businesses without the lawyer's presence or use of their phones or access to their gadgets, impeding the investigation of the cases. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Toben Arojikwe.
Remind me what the question is again.
How will the NBA, under your leadership, ensure security agencies and agents observe mutual respect between them and lawyers in the performance of their duties? For example, brutalizing lawyers, barring of phones of lawyers who come in to represent their clients. If you do become president of the bar, how will you address these issues?
So first of all, I think it's very unfortunate that we find ourselves in this sorry position. And on the immediate, I will say this. Many years ago, when this issue became very brazen, I had the privilege of sitting beside the president, and we talked about forming a Security Agencies Relations Committee, and it came to fruition. That committee is a committee we will pay special attention to. In the immediate, every Nigerian lawyer will know the framework for complaints against any issue that comes up. But again, I say that this is once again an issue of the disease and the symptom. So, if you were a policeman watching the Nigerian legal profession and you're watching the bar, and you know that the motto of the bar is the promotion of the rule of law, and you're seeing the bar complicit or derelict in the defense of that motto, how would you view them? I say one of the biggest things that has happened in our history recently was the killing of a lady called Bolanle Rahim. And when Bolanle was killed, there was uproar. Lawyers rose, we complained about it, we got judgment in favor of the deceased. But the question I ask is this: how many Nigerian citizens fall to the guns of policemen? What do we do in the defense of their human rights? If we actually promote the rule of law to that extent, do we not think that everybody would be afraid of the lawyer himself? So I say to you, corporately, we will put the interest of every Nigerian citizen on the front burner. Promotion of the rule of law, protection of human rights, those are parts of our constitution. Those are things that we must uphold, so that whether or not you're a lawyer, if there's an infraction on your rights, the MBA will take a position on it. As president of the MBA, whenever I hear of an infraction, I will take it up personally, because it's something that should not happen. Occupational hazard, in the course of your duty, policemen are harassing you. No, that should not be the case. And the framework that we're going to set up is going to be one that every Nigerian lawyer will know exactly who to report to, what to do, what to expect, what the Nigerian Bar Association will do in his favor. Are we going to go to court? Are we going to demonstrate? I think that every single thing must be on the table, as long as that issue is a front burner issue. That is my approach to it. We will look out for every Nigerian citizen. We will look out for every Nigerian lawyer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Leonard Silk, Chukwu Kaikwazo.
Thank you very much. I've had the privilege of chairing the Nigerian Bar Association Security Agencies Relations Committee in the last 1 year. And I will say to you that throughout the work that we have done, I think I've gained a very deep understanding of what the issues are. And I will explain what the issues are to you, because you cannot adopt an appropriate, competent solution without understanding what the issues are. The first issue is that a lot of our security agents still have not come out of the era of military rule. They look down on Nigerians, lawyers, all classes of people with great disdain. There was one incident that happened in Owerri. All that a lawyer needed to do to incur the wrath of an area commander was bring out his phone to take a picture. And the response was, who is this bloody civilian? So there is that attitude that needs to change. That's number one. Number two is that there are no consequences for bad behavior in Nigeria, especially within the security agencies. So even when you decide to go to court to seek redress, the matter is stuck in the court system for many years. At the end of the day, you don't get justice. You may get a judgment that you may not even be able to enforce. So the security agencies understand that even when you are not happy with their conduct, there's nothing you can do. There are no consequences for their bad behavior. That's number three. Not number two. Number three is that I will also say to you from my experience chairing this committee that our colleagues are not completely without blame. We need to behave better as lawyers. There was one incident in, I think, Kwara State, where a lawyer was sitting with a client, and the client was writing a statement. And the lawyer took his own pen and altered what the client was, the statement that the client was writing. So these are some of the issues. How are we going to deal with this issue? The MBA under my leadership will empower the MBA Security Agencies Relations Committee. I think that is one of the most important committees of the NBA. And the work of that committee cannot be reactive. It has to be proactive. That committee should continue to engage with the security agencies. So I will tell you, we have had 2 town hall meetings in Lagos and in Port Harcourt, where we brought together heads of security agencies to have a frank and honest conversation with them. And I'll tell you what has come out of those conversations. We were able to understand the points where conflicts are triggered. So they say to you that bail is free. But when you want to apply for bail, they ask you for money. If you refuse...
Please let's keep quiet. I'll start with you on this question, Mr. Tobeno. Mr. Tobeno, ironically. How do you intend to enforce the remuneration order across practice areas covered by the order, especially addressing compliance by lawyers, organizations, and other legal service users? And as remuneration enforcement improves, will you ensure this reflects in wages for junior lawyers too? After all, to whom much is given, much is expected.
Thank you very much. Before we talk about the remuneration order, I think that is the best question that's been asked today. And I'm happy that the second limb actually throws up one of the most controversial issues in this profession. And I think, and I will repeat it anywhere, anytime, any day, that it's a shame that we have not confronted it frontally. My view is that there's a white paper on remuneration the resolution was passed in this house to implement it. We will need to revisit again. We need to tell the story. I mean, my understanding is that we couldn't bring the punitive angle of that report into the RPC, so that where, for instance, somebody pays beyond the minimum wage, it will not be professional misconduct. But I think we have to go back to it, because you move around Nigeria, you still find people earning 16,000 naira. I think it is shameful. And because I was one of those who were in the room when the conversation about this remuneration thing started, I keep saying it, that conversation started with what lawyers are paid and employment are paid. If you take the time to read the white paper report that Mr. Shewa Bimbola led the committee on, you will be amazed at the words that were used. That report said that the committee finds conclusively that Nigerian lawyers who employ other lawyers do not pay a decent or living wage, that they do not pay payee, they do not even comply with the national minimum wage, they don't have health insurance schemes, they don't have pension schemes, and we're not talking about it as a conversation that is ongoing. I think it's one thing that I will bring back on the table straight away. Now, as far as the enforcement of the remuneration order is concerned, I think that every leader must have a strong voice about the things that truly matter. I say to every Nigerian lawyer in this room, the fact that we are having this conversation today is a reflection of who we are. What is it that is the conversation? The conversation before the House is that we have a statutory instrument that protects our fees, and we're talking about how we will enforce it. Well, I'm not even going to do the extraordinary things of saying what else we will do. I will encourage whistleblowing on this issue. Anybody that is reported to me will be immediately taken to the LPDC for prosecution on this matter, because I think that we need to stand up to be counted. The committee that's actually doing the remuneration at the moment is doing a lot in terms of conscientization, educating people, and that education must continue. But I think we need to step it up right to every government agency, right to every potential organization that can breach the rules, and then insist that when we catch you, you will pay. Thank you.
Thank you. Chukwuka Ikwazom, SAN.
Thank you very much. So the way I would like to look at this issue is again to try to identify what the problem is. If you look at the first page of my manifesto, I speak to the polarization we have in the profession, the fact that we don't work together as members of the profession. So we have different types of clients. One very important set of clients are corporate clients. Most of these corporate clients have lawyers as in-house counsel. And it is some of those in-house counsel that push back on the fees that lawyers charge. Because we can have a long conversation about pricing. The truth of the matter is that a man who does not know where his next meal is going to come from is highly unlikely to leave money on the table. He will say, let me take what I can see. So we need to work together as a profession. Sensitize lawyers who are in-house. Make them understand that not paying proper wages for proper fees for work done by lawyers actually debases the profession. Once we get that out of the way and we get the buy-in of in-house counsel to do what is right, then the next thing that we have to think about is how do we now bring our members who do not want to comply with the order into compliance? And I think that there are a lot of things that we can do, one of which is we need to mount serious advocacy using the branches, the different branches of the NBA, to explain to our colleagues that it is actually in our enlightened self-interest that we bill and get paid the proper fees for the work that we done. Once we have done that, the NBA under my leadership will put in a surveillance system to identify people who are not complying. And when we identify them, because the rules of professional conduct 2023 actually make it clear that non-compliance with the remuneration order is professional misconduct. So when we put in place that surveillance method or system, and we find that people are not in compliance, we're going to get them to face the consequences of their non-compliance. I will now address the question of minimum recommended wages for young lawyers. And I say that it is important that whoever is going to be president, for that person to have the moral authority to push employers of lawyers to pay those minimum wages, that person should be paying it himself. Because if you're not complying, you lack the moral authority to ask anybody to comply. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Please let's settle down. Afam Osigwe, SAN.
In the context of your question, remuneration has two meanings. The meaning ascribed to it under the remuneration order.
Please, let's keep quiet so we can hear our candidates. Please. Please go ahead.
Two meanings. In the context of the remuneration order, remuneration there simply means fees, charges, professional fees paid to a lawyer for his services. So how do we intend to enforce that? In the course of traveling around the branches and talking about the remuneration order, in my capacity as the chairman of the NBA Remuneration Committee, I have found out and have come to the conclusion that there is great need for advocacy to enlighten our members about the provisions of the remuneration order. But above all, I've come to realize that the enlightenment is best targeted at the clients. If the clients are potential clients or consumers of our legal services, that if they're enlightened about the provisions of this order and the imperativeness of complying with it and the absence of discretion on the part of a counsel, it makes life easier for the lawyers. When the clients know that this is how a lawyer will bill them, it helps the enforcement. The other one is to continue the advocacy and encourage our members to comply and to report those who are not complying. In the second sense of the remuneration, it is in terms of salary to be paid to a lawyer. Let me say that nobody should play politics with this. Neither the NBA nor the Remuneration Committee of the Legal Profession, set up by Section 15 of the Legal Practitioners Act, gives any power to anybody to fix minimum wage. The minimum, by item 34 of the exclusive list, the National Assembly that has powers, and it has enacted the Minimum Wage Act. If you want lawyers or the LPRC to have power to do this, the act will come up for review next year. We should act for it to be put there. But let me also say this. Let none of us give false hope to young lawyers that they will be paid what they have been paid in their law firms. All law firms do not have the same capacity. Let's not give them false hope. More than 70% of young lawyers are out of employment. They are not even talking about remuneration. They are talking about survival. We should talk about protecting the legal services industry so that they can have something to do. We should talk about what the small law firms can do to pay. Let us not give them hope that because our big law firms can pay well, they too should be paid like that. Who will pay them? Where is the job? We should let them know that they can charge better so that with or without job, if they're able to get a brief, they can charge enough to sustain them. My law firm pays well and I'm an employer. At that time, I'm the only employer among the candidates. So I know what it means to pay people well. But let's not give them false hope. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Please let's settle down. Thank you. Thank you. Please let's settle down. Please let's settle down. Please, can we keep quiet so the debate can continue? We have just one final question. Please sit down, just one more question. And the final question is this. How do you intend to address the dichotomy between legal education from the universities to the law school and continuing legal education post-qualification for lawyers in a way that our learning friends are effectively prepared as they transit to become our learned colleagues? Please keep quiet so our candidates can hear us. How do you intend to address the dichotomy between legal education from the universities to the law school and then continuing legal education post-qualification for lawyers in a way that our learning friends from the universities are effectively prepared as they transit to become our learned colleagues? Do we understand the question?
Yeah.
I'll start
Please,
with you.
please repeat the second part of the question.
How do you intend to address the dichotomy between legal education from the universities to the law school and continuing legal education post-qualification for lawyers in a way that our learning friends from the universities are effectively prepared as they transit to become our learned colleagues? Chukwuka Ikwazom.
Thank you very much. I feel that I am competent to speak to this issue because my first legal education was in Nigeria. I acquired further legal education outside of Nigeria. And one thing I can tell you is that legal education in Nigeria, both at the university level and at the law school, is not fit for purpose. The emphasis when we do legal education in Nigeria is on the ability to commit stuff to memory. So you commit a lot of stuff to memory, you bring it out, and you get a good grade. Now, when I was at Columbia University, almost all the exams that I wrote were open book exams or take-home exams. Nobody was testing your ability to commit stuff to memory. What was being tested was your ability to apply legal principles to real-life situations. So I remember my taxation class. One of the questions was a live case before the Supreme Court of the US. They were not really looking for the right or wrong answer. What they wanted was to test your ability to apply principles that you have been taught to real life situations. So we need to overhaul the legal education system in Nigeria. And that takes me to the great work that the committee that was chaired by Chief Anthony Digwe did. This was a committee that was appointed by A.B. Mahmoud as president. They came up with a legal profession regulation bill. Very comprehensive. You need to take time to read the portions of that bill that relate to legal education in Nigeria. Unfortunately, that bill has not seen the light of day. So one of the things that I said in my manifesto is that if by the grace of God I'm elected the president of the NBA, I'm going to deploy the full force of the office of president to ensure that that bill is passed. If there are controversial provisions in that bill, we can take them out. We can take those controversial provisions out. But there are useful proposals in that bill that I believe that if enacted into law and implemented, will go a long way in addressing not just the issues we have with legal education, but also the wider issues we have within the profession. And just to speak to continuing legal education, you know, like I said, currently our legal education does not prepare lawyers for what they actually meet. Some of the soft skills that you need to survive as a lawyer or succeed as a lawyer, nobody teaches you. So that is why until we're able to overhaul the legal education process in Nigeria, we have to focus on continuing legal education to teach people some of those things that they have not been taught at the law school, including things like client management, business development, personal branding, and what have you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Afam Osigwe, SAN.
I don't want to talk about the dichotomy, please. But I want to say that the content of our legal education has two fatal flaws. One, it produces lawyers or law students or graduates who are not allowed to think independently, but only to cram, to pass. It produces people who see themselves only fit enough for employment, not for entrepreneurship. It kills innovation. And so your lecturer is bold to tell you, if you don't give me what I teach you, you fail. It doesn't matter whether what he has taught is wrong. And the law school has not also helped by being procedural and also encouraging rote learning. And I think we should overhaul our legal education. And I think we should allow our legal education, whether at the law school or at the undergraduate level, to be capable of producing persons who can think on their feet, who are ideas persons, who are problem solvers, not crammers. We should incorporate entrepreneurship into our teaching. I'm unable to agree that the legal education regulation bill will cure this problem. The content of the curriculum, the attitude of the lecturers in thinking that they are lord of the manor, that the student has nothing to say and has nothing to offer, that the student should only tell them and have no independence of opinion. And if you go to research outside of what you have been taught, you fail. I've never seen an education system that punishes you for resourcefulness. We must wake up. Our people cannot compete with the type of teaching we are giving them. And that's why you see so many first-class graduates. They are very good at cramming. They are not able to manage them. Some of them lack managerial and entrepreneurial skill. They display knowledge but can't run a business. We must also look at our continued professional development. We must have such continued professional development that allows you to train at your own pace. MBA must have an ICLE platform that allows you to choose a topic you want to be trained on and certifies you at the end of it, tests you, not the one you sign in and go away and still get a certificate for participation. We must make it result-oriented. We must ensure that we produce lawyers that can compete not only in Nigeria, but in other places. My co-contestants are luckier than I. I'm only licensed here. If things go wrong here, I'm messed up. They can run away to the other jurisdiction to practice. I can't. So I have an interest in ensuring that Nigeria works, that we overhaul our legal education to ensure that we produce the right kind of lawyers that are fit for purpose and fit for the next generation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Please, let's keep the noise down. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Please, let's keep the noise down.
I mean, one of the things that one of the things that one enjoys about.
Please, can we keep quiet so we can hear the candidates? Please go ahead.
One of the things that one enjoys about this profession is the conviviality and the ability to punch each other. Yes, I'm not just qualified to practice outside Nigeria. I'm a British citizen. I was born in England, but I choose to live in Nigeria, which is a higher standard. So now let's now go into the topic, that the question that was raised. I thought the last question was the best, but I actually think that this one is absolutely the best. And why do I say this? During the Legal Education Summit that took place some 3 years ago, Professor Ernesto Ojukwu, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, made a statement that struck me, and it's not something I'm going to forget in a hurry. He said that professional associations, especially bar associations, live for two things and two things alone. Do I have your protection, Shola?
Please go ahead. Please, let's keep quiet so we can hear our candidates.
So, and what are the two things that professional associations like bar associations live for? It is the training of would-be members of the profession and the retraining of members, right? So it's a composite thing, it's a composite area, and we must have a comprehensive regime for training and retraining. Now, when you talk about the pedagogy or the way we teach in schools, it is madness. It is motopark education. First of all, you graduate 5,000 lawyers from the law school every year. You get into a hall like this, and this is where 1,000 students have their tutorials. Even if the intention is to teach them to think in a way that exhibits their aptitude, you cannot achieve it. So there's a reason why we have 16 members as members of the Council of Legal Education. We need to rethink our curriculum. We need to rethink especially the manner in which we teach. But also, we need to rethink post-qualification education training in Nigeria. In a place like England, you qualify, you finish your studies, your BVc as to become a barrister. You have a pupillage system. Is there in South Africa? Is there in Tanzania? Is there most places in the world? You finish as a solicitor, you have a 2-year training contract. In Nigeria and under the Nigerian Bar Association system, we don't have pupillages, because how does it work really in practice? You leave school, everybody knows that it's theory that you've learned. You come into the world and you then learn from the masters in the field. And most importantly, you do continuing professional development. I hear my brother talk about people logging in and logging out. Well, even if you have a learning management system, I will log in and I will log out. The most important thing is that you must have a regime. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And so we've exhausted our questions for our presidential candidates, and I'm going to give them 2 minutes each to round up, to give us their closing remarks. So I'll start with you, Mr. Erojikwe, closing remarks.
First of all, I want to thank all of you, my colleagues, for the way we've run this election so far. I want to thank my supporters for their maturity, for engaging in the process, and for making the process truly issues-based. And I hope that this will continue to the end of the process. What I will say to all of you is this: I am not a man who presumes to know everything. I am a man who says what he means. I am a man of character. I am someone who wants to lead the Nigerian Bar Association. But the Nigerian Bar Association is not a notional organization for me. It is about the people. It's about the members of the bar. I do not have too much to say, but I will say to you, look at my track record. Look at what I have done in the bar today. A reality that everybody sees with almost nothing, but creativity. 90% of the work we've done over the 8 years that I've been involved in continuing professional development in my personal capacity, funding continuing professional development activity as chairman of the CLE committee of the Lagos branch over a 4-year period, doing all the trainings at no cost to any member of the bar and cost neutral to the branch, taking over a moribund institution and showing the leadership that has given rise to many volunteers and all sorts of people who have come together to say that we must change the narrative in our profession. I ask you all to give me the opportunity to lead this association, to bring international best practices to play, to bring probity to play, and to bring character and a new thinking for the Nigerian Bar Association. I thank you all for having listened to me today. I hope that people go home and internalize some of the things that they have heard. I ask everybody in this room to think about the future of this profession, to contribute to the future of this profession, and to contribute their ideas to me even as I move towards the presidency of the bar. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you very much. Afam Osigwe, SAN.
To the glory of God, it's been an opportunity of a lifetime, a privilege to stand before you here this day to tell you why I want to lead the bar, why I should be entrusted with the leadership of the NBA. It's been a privilege of a lifetime to seek to give to a profession that has been so good to me, that has trained me in leadership and prepared me for the aspiration which I presently embarked on. And I stand here today and make a solemn vow that if it pleases God and it pleases the majority of lawyers that I'm elected the president, that you shall never regret the day you gave me your mandate. That if whatever I've told you I will do, I will do. And in all the positions I've been given, I've done my best to give back to the NBA. And I shall continue to serve the bar. And that I shall continue to stand for a bar that identifies problems, anticipates challenges, and delivers solutions that work for all of us. We are from divergent background, and the bar must stand together to speak with one voice. And the bar must be the strong voice of the legal profession. And it needs a visionary and dynamic leadership, which at the moment I alone can provide. And I assure you that NBA under my watch shall meet all the yearnings and aspirations of lawyers. And wherever you walk, NBA shall be there for you. We shall protect you. We shall be true and bear true fidelity to the motto of NBA, which is promoting the rule of law. The society shall be proud to have a bar association like ours. And with your vote and your mandate, we shall stand for that which the society expects of us, and we cannot do nothing but that which we are promised to do. And NBA shall be the pride of our nation, the pride of our legal practitioners, and we must move for a better society, a society in which all lawyers will be able to hold their head high and say, this is my association, I am proud I voted for this leadership to make for a better Nigeria, to make for a better tomorrow. Please give me your vote. Let me be the next president of the NBA to continue the good works that all the successive presidents of the NBA has done. Thank you so very much. Vote for me, vote for me, vote for me.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Please, we have one more candidate who is here to speak. Please, can we keep quiet so we can hear the last candidate speak to us? Chukwuka Ekwazom, SAN, final remarks.
Thank you very much. 7 years ago, precisely in 2017, I went to members of my branch and I asked them for their vote to be the chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association Lagos branch. I had nothing in terms of track record to show, but I guess members of my branch saw the passion in me and the sincerity of my purpose, and they entrusted me with the leadership of the largest branch of the NBA. What drove me to seek the leadership of my branch was a challenge that a senior lawyer had given to me when I was complaining to him that the bar was not working. And he looked me in the face and said, Chuka, who the hell is the bar? If you are grieved about what is going on, get involved and drive the change that you like to see. Today, I come before you Nigerian lawyers to ask you to entrust the leadership of the Nigerian Bar Association to me. I have a track record of service to the NBA. Every position that I've been asked to serve in, I have served to the best of my ability. Most members of my branch believe that I served the branch as chairman with excellence. Only last Christmas, during the annual dinner, my branch honored me with a Distinguished Service Award in recognition of the services that I've rendered to the bar over the years. I promise you today that if you elect me your president, I will not give you any reason to regret electing me. I will work every day, every night to make sure that I leave the legal profession better than I met it. I urge you all to support me on the 20th of July. Give me your vote and I will not disappoint you. Thank you very much.